In this video we will have an introduction to the Stata software. We have Stata MP17, the latest version, and this is how the interface is. It has various panes. One is the command pane, in which we see the commands. Here we have variable pane, in which we have the variables that are there in the data set, and the properties of those variables are written here. This is the output pane, in which we get the output whenever we execute a command, and command is actually written here and executed from here. So this is MP version, which is multiprocessing version, which is the highest caliber, because it has the greatest power as compared to all the versions that we have in Stata 17. One is the SP version as well. So beside all these variants, MP version is the most superior. Its license should be availed. It is licensed version, and these are various notes about how we can increase the memory size and other things in the Stata software. And definitely we will now come to various commands and these menus that we can understand and use in this Stata 17 software. So you see that we have quite a bit of commands now visible in this output pane. So let's focus on these panes one by one. This is the command pane, in which we have those commands that we have already executed, and the final command was clear. Then we have this output pane, because in this we get output. Whatever we try to calculate, we get it in this pane. And then we have this command pane, in which we enter the commands. And then the variables pane contain the variables whenever they are loaded. And then the properties pane is there, in which we can see the properties of the variables. So let us open a file here. I have a recent file, so I opened it. A recent file can be opened just like we open a file in the Word Word software, or MS Excel, or MS PowerPoint, any such software. We can open the recent files, and here we can see as soon as we open the recent file, we can see that the variables, they are appearing here. These are the variable names. Labels are not there for these variables, though I can put the labels for the description. For example, if I choose this variable, it's showing its name but not the label. So I can click it here, and I can write the whole thing, that it is about the years. Right now it's not allowing me to write, but when I bring the cursor to this icon, it says lock unlock. Right now it's locked. When I click it, it becomes unlocked, and now I can write what I want to write. It's actually the years. So as soon as I clicked enter, I also got a command here. So it means that alongside the graphic user interface, the commands, they are also there, and they get updated automatically. So this is the beauty of Stata, that it will allow you to learn the commands. If you do it in graphic user interface, you will get the command here, which you can learn and you can use whenever you want to. So labels can be there for a little bit of description, and we can do quite a bit of things, and in this video we cannot cover all of them. So we'll be focusing on those that are usually studied and used. Now this is the variable description here, and we can do quite a bit of things. For example, the type of the variable, because we should know about the type. It can be float, double, long, integer, byte, depends upon the kind of variable we are storing. In usual social sciences, this type of variable type is good enough, because we are not doing any astronomical sort of thing, in which large, very huge variables are required. format, there is a certain format of writing certain variables, and by default we have this thing. Otherwise we can go to the other things like clock, daily, weekly, monthly. There is quite a bit of option that we have, but the type of data we have chosen here is represented by default with this option, that is format, that is percentage 8.0g. The good thing about is that we don't have to choose this thing again and again, because you can import the data from Excel file in Stata, and when you do, it is wise enough to understand that which one of the format is suitable. So this is something you don't have to bother worrying about. You can add notes for details, because sometimes a variable requires quite a bit of details for its calculation or any other information, so we can store it here. We can retrieve it whenever we want to. Now file name is also there, and these are various pieces of information that are there in the notes and in the data. So this is something which is there but is not extensively used in our usual analysis. Now we come to the variables. These are the variables, and we can view their data as well. Before we view the data, we should also look at these usual icons: new file open, save, print the results, begin the log, or new viewer. We usually use the log, because these commands, if we want to save them, we open a log and we save it. For example, if I click here, it will ask me where I want to save the log, so I can use the log. Log is basically the results and the commands that we are using, and it can be initiated from here. We will see how we can do it. In file menu we have log. Here we click begin, and it asks us to give it a certain name. So it's a test log, and as you can see, it is telling us the date and the time in which it is started, and it is opened, and we can run a few commands and see that how it gets stored. For example, if we generate a variable, that is generate x, which is equal to the square of y cap square, it will be generated. And here you can see the command is appearing. So in the command pane it appears, and now if I want to save this log, I can do that again by going in file, and I can suspend it so that the other commands that I will run after suspending it doesn't get stored. They don't get stored, and I can resume it whenever I want to. But if I want to complete it, I'll click close and it will be saved. So it is closed now, and it is saved where I wanted to save it. This is the path where it has been saved. I can open it and I can see that how it is done. For that I can go into this option, and I can see the test smcl file is saved, which is a kind of document which is known as the log. And if I open it, it will appear in a certain viewer, and here I can see that the command that I run is now saved. All of those commands that were used, I actually run this command over there in order to just experiment a little bit. So this log can be saved, and then I can copy paste it, use it again whenever I need it. So it's a helpful way of storing the information. Whenever we start calculations or estimations, we should start the log, and we should close it once we know that we have done it. We can suspend it as well and resume it whenever and wherever needed. So this was the benefit of using log. We can import the data, as I was telling, that we can bring the data from Excel, and in Excel there are various formats like XLS, XLSX, the new format, the comma separated values format, and then SPSS file can also be used, SAS file can be used, and other formats of the data can be used as well. So we can import any file from Excel. Usually we do it from Excel, and we can open it and view it in the Stata software. So let's import an Excel file. Excel file menu is here. We should give it a certain path. We click browse. We find an Excel file that we want to open, and as soon as we click it, this preview appears. This preview dialog box gives us a little bit of idea that how the data will look like. The data will look like this. This is the Excel sheet that I have. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the column headers and the row headers of the Excel sheet, and we want this first row to be the head of all the columns. So I want to import them as variable names, not as data. So this is why I will click here, and as soon as I did, you see the variables, they have gone into the title row instead of the data, and the data starts from the very first green background cells, and now it will be in that certain position that we want it to be. As I click OK, it will ask me that previous data in the Stata is not in a saved form. So if I don't want to save it, it's okay, I can avoid that. So if I click it OK or yes, the data will be shifted into Stata. So the data is now visible. For that, we have to go in data menu, and in that data editor option is there. Further, we have data editor, edit mode or browse mode. If we just want to see the data, if we do not want to change the data, then browse mode is okay, and if we want to change the data, we want to calculate something, then data editor edit mode is suitable. So I am choosing the edit mode because that will give me the liberty to change the data, edit it. And now you can see this is the data editor view of Stata. We can see that the variable names are visible in the title, the column heads, and in the row heads we have 1, 2, 3, just like in Excel. Now the countries, they are written one by one. Then this ID variable is there, the years are there, then the variables that we have: trade, gross fixed capital formation, labor force, and so on. Now red color is for this text variable because this is the string variable. As you can see, when this is selected, we have string type data, and when I choose any other digit based variable, it becomes integer. So you see that Stata is intelligent enough to realize the data type, so we don't have to worry about these settings in most of the cases. This is one way of importing the data. You can save it and by clicking this button, and just like you save any other file in your computer, you can save it in some specific path. So I'm going to do it. When I click save, it will give me this place from where I imported the Excel file, and you can see the data type is now DTA. The extension of the file will be DTA, just like we have XLS or PPT or DOC. For Stata file, data file, we have DTA. So I can give it any name I want to, and I can save it. For example, railway data is a suitable name that I can use, and now it is saved. And again, if I want to save it, requires me to verify this thing. I can also paste the data from the source. So now I'm going to do it in this way, that I will open the data editor, and I will go into the data editor edit mode, and I will get the data file here. But I am going to clear this data first, because I want to import the data in a different way by copy pasting it. So clear command is something I will type here. When I do, you see that all the variables have disappeared, because now the data editor is empty. Now we can copy paste any variable or variables here. You see that we have this same data that we imported before. So I can select it simply by clicking Control A, and it selects it, and now I can go to the Stata data editor mode. Here I have it, and here if I paste it, it will ask me something. It asks me that if I want to save the first row as the variable name or as the data, because it has sensed that in the source Excel file the first row was containing the variable titles. Therefore I'm going to click this option because it is going to treat the first row as the variable names. So I want to consider them as the variable names. When I do, you see that the first row is now considered as the variable names, and then we have the data. So this is again another way of getting the data. I can save it again just like I did before. So there are two ways. You can either copy paste or you can import. So when you see this thing, it is visible here in the form of commands. It tells you that 10 variables have been imported. There are 875 observations pasted into the data editor. Because it was a pool data, there was time series dimension, there was cross-sectional dimension. So this is why we have this much of the observations. So this was about the file menu. Then we have export option as well. In the file menu, I can export the data in Excel form, in any other form, comma separated value form, or any other form if I want to, because sometimes the data on databases is available in DTA format. For example, word value survey or word bank or other data sources, if they have given the data in the Stata form, and if you want to save it in Excel form, you can do it by opening it in Stata and then exporting it in this data spreadsheet, that is Excel. So you can also do this in the file menu. Then we have the edit, where you can copy paste things, you can select all, and then we have preferences, general preferences, color scheme, or you can go for the dark mode as well. This is also something very common these days. So I'm cancelling it right now, but I can do it. So there are preferences of other kinds as well, graph preferences, user interface, language, etc. So there are a number of preferences that users can use. However, in our simple analysis, these are not much used. Then we have the data editor that we have used already, and we can change the data. We can create a new variable, we can drop a variable. So we can do a number of things with the variables that we have. Variables manager is there. It is also a good way to understand the data type of the variable, their names, etc., their sorting, their filtering. Then we have data utilities. We can do quite a bit of things with the label. We can do quite a bit of things with the notes. We can compare two variables or data sets. We can rename the groups of the variables, not just one, rather more than one. We can change the order of the variables, and we can drop the duplicated observations from the variable. So with the data we can do a number of things here. Usually we can do this on Excel sheet, and we can also do it here. It depends upon us. We can do some sorting. We can combine more than one data sets if needed. And we have other utilities like hand calculator. Just like we have a calculator, we can do some calculations like a little bit of multiplication and then subtraction. We can do it here, and I will get the result. So I also have a hand calculator as well here that I can use. I can click the create button, and I can get this calculator type interface in which I have functions that I can use. I can choose the variables, etc. I can do a number of things here. I can write the whole expression in this to calculate a new variable. That will also be done. Then we also have graphs. There is a number of graphs that I can make: histogram, pie, dot, bar chart, and other types of graphs that we can make here. Time series graphs are also there: line plots, correlogram, panel data, survival analysis, regression, diagnostic plots. So there are a number of plots. However, in this introduction we'll come to the very basic scatter plot. When I click this, I get this. It's the plot 1 that I have created already. I'll edit it and I will go for the scatter plot, the basic version of it. I choose the variables here, for example y2 and rp. These are the two variables between which I want to make the scatter plot. Now I have made the options. Y-axis what I want to write as its title, and x-axis the legend if I want to make it. So you see all those formatting options are there. You can explore these options. However, right now it is the scatter plot between y2 and rp that we are making. So when I click OK, I will get the scatter plot instantaneously, and you see that it has been plotted. And further it can be formatted by start graph editor. I can go into it and I can change things here. For example, this y2 option, this title, I can make it income, and you will see that it will appear here. And in the same way you can change it here in rp. For example, I can make it railways, and I can also change the color or the size of the font has been increased. So you can do this thing as well. And again, there are a number of options that cannot be covered in this introductory video, but you can do quite a bit of things with it. You can save this graph as well. You can import it and you can save it as, you know, as a file, graph file, or you can save it in JPG format, which is very much famous, and PNG, which is a high quality version of the snaps. So we can also use that. So we can save this as well, because we use the graphs to interpret something, to create the relationship, and we need them here. So this was the graph editor that you can also use, and you see those commands that are getting displayed. It was a two-way diagram, it was a scatter plot between these two variables, and it was saved as PNG format at the end. So graphics menu is there, then statistics, the most elaborated and function filled menu. The very first is the summary and the descriptive statistics. You can see all these options. Summary statistics is something very famous. We want to summarize all these variables and see the results. And here I am selecting these variables that I want to get the summary of, and I click OK, and I get the summary. By summary it means that we have the descriptive statistics, in which the number of observations is there. Definitely the variables names, they have been listed. It gives you 5 at a time, and then another row starts. For the 6th variable you can see that the new row has been started. Then the observations, their number, and then the mean of these variables, the standard deviation, the minimum value, and the maximum value. So if you want to do it like this with this command, it is very easy. You simply save it somewhere and you can run this command. I am summarizing these two variables, or just one variable in this case, so I get the summary. So the command to be noted is summarize. And then there is a number of things. Again, ANOVA, you know about it, and logistic regression, probit regression. Then there is panel regression. Within panel regression we have other. So these options are there. We can also calculate the panel regression, panel logistic model, and so on. Ordinal models, ordered logistic and probit models, categorical outcome regressions, count outcomes, and fractional regression, and generalized linear models, CLM, choice models, time series models, ARIMA, RMAX, arch gauge models, threshold arch. These are very famous family of the autoregressive conditional heteroscedasticity models. And then we have survival analysis and so on. So you see there is a number of possibilities that we have. It's not possible to cover them, even their titles in this video. Structural equation modeling can be done with all of its variants. Then LCA, FMN, survey data analysis, something very useful. Lasso and multiple imputation, and so on. Bayesian analysis is also possible, which is another advanced category of estimation, and post-estimation tests as well to see the presence of violation of the standard assumptions. So you see a plethora of possibilities are is here for us to check. And then if we want to disappear or bring any command, we can do Pane, we can do this, we can toggle between some commands as well, Panes as well. We can hide them from here as well if we want to, variables for example, and then I can try to bring it back from here. And then we have this help menu, which is the standard thing in most of the software. So in this way we have quite a bit of introduction to this software, which is Stata 17, which provides an abundance of the functionality and options that we can use for our analysis. In the next video we will use some empirical data to do the estimations, especially for regression. Thank you.